Hi, welcome to another Power Blast podcast. So, if you find yourself drifting off course, here are some great tips if you're wanting to make a comeback. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, Perry Tinsley here, creator of the Power Blast podcast. I'm a health and fitness coach, and I am in my podcast studio, so to speak, here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Officially Bloomington, if you want to be specific. We're very close to the Minneapolis airport. Just out my window here, get to see planes landing and taking off all the time. Yes, we moved here a few weeks ago, and just got a really sweet place. But I haven't found a dedicated place for where I was going to record my show. So I am sitting here in my kitchen / dining room / living room area. And you know what? I said this show is not stopping. We are going to continue on and be able to bring this to you. So I've got some great tips today that I want to share with you. And before I do that, I want to give a shout out to I was over on Instagram a little bit ago, and I want to give a shout out to Mike French. Thanks for commenting on my post today about the podcast. Glad you've been watching and listening over the years. You were a special guest many years ago. I got to have you on again, brother. It was so awesome. I had you and your wife on there. And gosh, man, I need to revisit the archives. You guys have ever gone into some of the podcast, Power Blast podcast archives? There's a lot of great interviews from people over the years. A lot of the Beachbody super trainers. Had CEO Carl Deichler on a few times, Tony Horton, several other people, Debbie Siebers. And many great friends and many success stories of people just transforming their lives and just sharing tips of what's worked for them. Many of them will work for you. I know they've inspired me and helped me over the years. So let's talk about this drifting off course sort of thing today, because a lot of times people get to a tipping point, or they're like, hey, I need to do something. Whether it's changing their eating or changing their exercise or even just getting started. And I think you have to go beyond just setting goals. I mean, a lot of times we visualize these things in our head and we're like, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit. And we usually push it off until after the weekend because that gives us time to splurge and gorge and whatever. And then usually we get sore, and then we're like, oh my gosh, I am so out of shape. This is too much effort. And we quit. If you're going to turn some of these goals, if you've got these goals that you want to get in shape, you want to lose weight, you want to just be happy and healthy, and just enable yourself to do some things that maybe you once were able to do, and now maybe you drifted off and you can't. You've got to turn some habits into just being so automatic that you aren't even really thinking that you're doing them. And you really have to be on the alert for those times when you're getting bored and getting complacent and just getting too comfortable. Because I think if you don't catch yourself on those things, then you can really drift off course. And I like to think of drifting off course kind of like snorkeling. I don't know if any of you have done snorkeling out there. I've only done it a couple of times. But what I found was, while you're looking at all these really cool things under the water, I happened to be in the ocean, and I was like, wow, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool. You're spending time looking at all these other things, and you're busy doing other stuff, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh my gosh, I have drifted so far off course. Look how far I'm away from the shore. And I look at that as kind of the health and fitness type of thing, where you've just drifted so off course that it's not impossible to get back. It's like, well, with snorkeling, you're going to have to just paddle your way through just a little bit by little bit. Just getting back with your health and fitness, you've got to chip away with it, chip away at it and be consistent. So just a few tips here that I think may help you. Some of them they're going to seem so obvious, and you might be listening to this podcast and going, oh my gosh, this is just the same old stuff. But this is stuff that works. Success leaves clues, people, and you've got to know that. One thing is just to commit it and write it down in paper. And sometimes people will post things just on social media to get, I'm committed to doing this. Please help me. Please root me on. But even if you just get it on paper, not just think about it, because our brain likes to go, oh, I don't think I like that. Maybe we should do something else. But if you commit it to paper, post it all around, you've got those reminders that that's what you want to accomplish. That's what you want to do. I can't tell you how many goals I've accomplished over the years just by writing them down and having them visual, being able to see every day. Note to self to do more of that. It's pretty amazing. It's powerful. But if you don't, then it's really easy to just kind of just miss them or forget them, Being specific with your goals is another one. A lot of times people, when I'm coaching people and I ask, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And a lot of times people will be like, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to be able to keep up with my kids. I want to, whatever it is. I just want to be healthy. That's so general, and it's not very specific. But you know what? It might be like, hey, I want to cut my body fat down by 50% within the next couple of months. I want to lose 75 pounds over the next year. You get specific, even if you give a time frame and specific of what you want to do. Then you can kind of I don't know, I guess they call it reverse engineering. Come on up with a plan to just chip away at that. I love the 2B mindset thing that I've been following, because it's, you put a goal down like that says 75 pounds. That sounds so intimidating. But the process that we go through with that program is 2 pounds at a time. Just focus on the next 2 pounds. When you do that, I mean, you're setting yourself up for wins and victories right away. Just saying, I'm going to lose 75 pounds, and then, a couple of days later, you see the scale go up because you got off track with your eating, or maybe you're retaining water weight from your fitness program. It gets deflating. But if you take it down, I'm just focusing on those next 2 pounds, and then the next 2 pounds. Man, that can be great. The next tip is just being realistic with your goals. Something that you can actually commit to. Because there's going to be these little roadblocks. There's going to be these setbacks. And just saying, I'm going to work out 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then what happens on that day that you're bored, on that day where you didn't expect that your schedule is going to be tied up, or, that you got stuck in traffic and you didn't get back until later. Those things you can't always anticipate. And I know this podcast goes out to a lot of people, and I know that there's a lot of people that are all or nothing type of people, that if they get sidetracked even just for a little bit, they're quitters. They quit. I can't do this, and it's all or nothing. They go so head into just dive into their workout so much that they create such soreness or injury or whatever. They take themselves out of the game. They don't set themselves up for success. So you got to be realistic there with doing those things. Just don't set yourself up for failure. And I think that's a lot of worry that people have, is that I'm gonna fail. I might fail, and people will pretty much count themselves out before they even start. So the next step is to ditch the doubt and get rid of that. A lot of it ends up being an inner game. What happens between the ears, and you've just got to. That was me when I first started. I kept, trying to get in, talk myself out of stuff, and I'd come up with an excuse, or I'd twist an ankle, or I'd do whatever else, and I found myself getting kind of just taking myself out of the game. But when I said, what, it's kind of like just focus on the next 2 pounds thing. Just focus on the next day. Just today, all I want to do is show up and put an X on the calendar that I did an exercise. And it didn't even have to be the best exercise in the world. There were some days my workouts were so lame, but I showed up. I'm showing up just so I can put the X on that calendar, and I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to ditch the doubt, and prove to myself that you can do today. That's the thing. I think a lot of us look so far ahead and really overthink it. And if you just do today, what can I show up and do today? I can do 10 minutes exercise, 20. I can drink more water. I can stay on track with that. I can actually track it. I can put an X on the calendar. I can write down I had 8-ounce glasses of water, whatever it is. Do that. The other thing I think which is great with a fitness program, one of the things I learned at one point was, oh my gosh, this is a lifetime thing, isn't it? To be healthy and fit and happy, and if you got to commit to it, it's work. But I find that if you just commit to a short-term duration, not that when you're done, you're going to let yourself off the hook and go back to old ways, but to just set little, like we've got a 21-day program. We've got a 90-day program. I started with a 90-day one. My goal was to get through 30 days of it. And I checked all the boxes off the calendar. 30 days done. Okay, let's focus on the next 30 days. And so that's the way I constantly moved forward, day by day, chipping away. And so I think that will help you reach those benchmark goals, the 2 pounds at a time, that's chipping away at your the goals that you're wanting to set. And you know what? All of a sudden, it compounds. It adds up. So the next tip is to adopt the buddy system. Now, if I would have heard this right away, I would have been like, no way am I doing the buddy system. But I have found over the years that being a part of a group, being a part of just even getting a success partner of some sort that you can check in with, somebody that's not going to let you off the hook. We run these groups in an app or on Facebook, and we root each other on. We motivate each other. A lot of times, if I don't check in, I'm like, oh my, I got to check in today because I got to show up for my workout. What would this person do? They would have showed up. They would have done it. They're going to call me out on this. I need a buddy to do this. It can be a family member. It can be a friend. It can be just even in one of our groups. I encourage you to reach out to me, perrytinsley@gmail.com, and I can help you. Either if you've got a coach, figure out the group that they have, or if you don't, you can join one of our events and our groups and be able to proceed that way. But that is a big to do. Reviewing your progress daily, like I said, checking it off your calendar every single day. How did I do? You don't have to spend a ton of time on this. Just do your best, forget the rest, but kind of document your journey along the way. Helps you stay focused and stay on track to where you're not getting distracted by if you're not going to drift off. And you know what? If I give myself 30 days, if I'm doing an eating plan or I'm doing, for instance, or even a fitness plan. For instance, I was a big hater, did not like, despised, gag me with a spoon sort of thing, for those of you from the 80s, with vegetables. I hated them. And once I discovered there was some I could tolerate without totally losing it, I gave myself 30 days. I said, okay, I'm just going to try this. And for 30 days, see if it even matters. Because if it doesn't, I'm going back to something else. And sure enough, made a huge difference in how I feel. Now, you're probably listening or watching this and watching this and saying, well, that's vegetables. Of course it is. But you know what? If you never liked them, never did that, you never got to experience that. So how did you know? All I know is somebody's wanting me to eat something gross. But I found so many health benefits and felt incredible, lost weight, but I gave it 30 days. And if it wouldn't have happened, in a short amount of time, and I'm going through a program and trying to trust the process, but it's not going the way I want, feel the need to change. Maybe I like to mix up my routine every 30 to 90 days. Helps you keep from plateauing. And it can be, you might even just think of, what, I want to try a new hobby or take a kickboxing class, or maybe go swimming or cycling. Tony Horton says variety is the spice of life, and that's it. So visualization for where you want to go is another big thing, and gratitude for what you already have is huge. You may not be where you want to be with your health and fitness journey, but if you're grateful what you have in your life and what you have around you, more abundance comes back to you. And visualizing where you're going, even doing some daily affirmations can really, well, once again, I told you, it's an inner game for most of this. It's not just getting the workouts done or just putting down the fork. It's the mental stuff that goes with it. Another tip, have fun, go with the flow. Life can be chaotic, can take you out of the game. You know what? If it doesn't happen because of an illness, job duties, whatever, chalk it up to, it didn't work out today. I'm showing up the next day. No big deal. And you don't have to put it off till next Monday. You could start back on it tomorrow. Yeah, it was a rough day. I'll be back on it tomorrow. And you don't have to go and do crazy doubles or anything like that. Sometimes I do, but you don't have to. You can just say, I'm just going to, you know what? It was a crazy day. I'm going to go with the flow. Do it the next day. And just pace yourself. Do something every day and be kind to yourself. I think so often, and maybe I'm doing this podcast maybe for me here, but it's being kind to yourself and saying nice things to yourself. And I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up so much that we attract more beating ourselves up or more situations where it can compound the situation. And if this is an internal game that we have, and then we're trying to do things to be successful, and then we're beating ourselves up on the inside to even get to somewhere. That's just not good. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. I hope these tips helped you. I hope that if you know of somebody that can benefit, you please pass it on, pay it forward, and hopefully it can help them out. And I so appreciate you for subscribing. If you can get over to the either iTunes store or even a podcast app, give an honest rating and review. That will help reach more people. So appreciate you. You absolutely rock, my friend. I really do appreciate you. That's all I have for this week. Remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.